And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 73 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And you all know the wonderful man that we have joining us again this week, Tim Herron. Welcome back to the podcast, buddy.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So just to catch up, because, guys, look, Tim's been on the show a bunch of times. We love having him. Always a great show. Really looking forward to tonight. Not going to bore you guys with having him introduce themselves again. Quit being lazy and go watch the previous episodes. Not only will you figure out who the hell he is, but you'll learn some awesome stuff because, like I've said, every show with him has been fantastic. But catch us up, man. What's been new in your world?
What's been new in my world? Well, as you can see, if people actually go back and watch other podcasts that have me on it, they'll see that the background behind me has changed. Finally, after a year and a half of hard labor, we've finally gotten our house done to a point where we could get moved in about 5.5, 6 weeks ago now. So, which is never enough to get everything unpacked yet, but we're in it now and living here, which has been fantastic. Also been teaching like a madman. So season, as far as training season, it's all upon us. I've been hard at it almost every single weekend from mid-February. I think I've had 2 weekends off in the last 2 months. So it's been good. It's been real good.
I can't, just taking into account the stress that goes along with getting a house built, I can't imagine how much that was made worse by your travel schedule.
Well, my girlfriend and I both. I mean, she works Monday through Friday, or actually got a 4/10 job. So she was working Monday through Thursday for the most of this. Of course I'm trying to, travel and teach every single weekend. So, I'm gone, say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If I'm doing back-to-back classes, I'll be gone for almost a full solid week. So it's she would get to work on it on the weekends. I would get to work on it throughout the week. And then occasionally get to work on it together for, 2 or 3 days at a time too. But I mean, yeah, we didn't really subcontract anything else to have built either. I mean, we did everything, just she and I. We didn't hire nearly anything out. 2 things really, the roof, which it was better to hire a crew to come out and do the roof on the house. And what else did we do? Oh, the boiler for the radiant floor heating. We had a plumber come out and install the boiler. Other than that, though, all the other plumbing, all the electrical, all of the tile, all of the drywall, all of the framing, everything we've done ourselves. So.
Okay, so not only are you a championship level shooter, but you're a glutton for punishment too, apparently.
Yes. I'm never doing this again. I've told my girlfriend that the only way that she ever gets to have this house to herself, there's no divorce and we're all going to move away kind of thing. It's straight up either she's going to have to kill me or I'm going to have to murder her. One of us is buried in the backyard, but neither of us are moving. So I'm not doing this crap ever again. Ever.
No,
my money's on your ass buried in the backyard.
Oh yeah, mine too.
So I feel like it's a missed opportunity if we don't just call it the awkward roommates if things don't work out and you two just live in the house together.
There's plenty of room here.
We'll get a camera crew. I mean, it could be entertaining. I'm just saying.
No, there's plenty of room. So if things did, absolutely go south, there's another, a secondary house that's attached to this. It's a full guest house that we've yet to actually get started on it. But one or the other of us, we'd be able to share that. We'd be able to share the place together. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see how this is going right now. She's like, Tim, you don't take up a lot of room. You get your little ass over to that guest house. You and your reloading press and all your bullshit, but leave the grout float. I'm still going to need that thing.
Yeah, no, she'd make me come over and grout.
Mm-hmm. I can see how that would go. So, real quick, speaking of other podcasts you've been on, you guys just did your own episode. You refired up your own show. Plug that shit, dude.
We did. So yeah, Perfect Double podcast, which is primarily kind of a USBSA competitive based podcast. We definitely get, kind of into the weeds a lot, with I try to stay out of the drama that is, in the shooting sports or in the industry. But as far as Kenny Platt and I and Eric Steiner, we've got a really good rapport with each other. It's been great to Eric will generally come up with a topic or so, and then kind of like you guys do, you got to post up, hey, what kind of questions you want for the show, things like that, and then he'll kind of present questions from our audience, and Kenny and I, like I said, we'll get into the weeds on answering all sorts of cool technical stuff and shooter related questions and have a lot of fun with it. So we kind of took a sabbatical for about the last year, 2020, we just with COVID and everything going on, like I said, Lauren and I building this house, Steiner got married, at the same time, had a new baby. Kenny and his wife and family were building a new house themselves. So I mean, there was so many things, and it, like I said, with everything going on, we just decided, it's time to why don't we just take a break? So we took a break. Our 4 or 5 month break turned into about a 13-month break. So yeah, we finally launched an episode a couple weeks ago, and we're looking forward to hopefully doing getting back on track and doing one every 2 or 3 weeks again. We're definitely not a one a week type of podcast. We never have been, which has kind of been the rolling joke with our program. But we do it when we want to do it because, when it's fun for us. Otherwise, if we did it on an absolute regular basis, I'm sure you guys know, then it becomes nothing but work and it's another job. And for us, nobody wants that because I think it ruins or takes away from, the relationships that we have. And it's, which keeps it fun. So trust me, I do enough for a living in this that I haven't burned myself out yet. The last thing I'd want to do is have to do a weekly or, bi-weekly podcast and just literally completely burn myself out with everything else I got going on. Once every couple of weeks or once a month is solid with me.
I feel like he's talking to us directly to us. Here's the thing, though.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. So when you guys see us take a random ass week off here and there, that's basically him and I being like, bro, you good with a week off? And usually I'll call TJ and it'll be like, you good with a week off? Jinx, you owe me a coat. Okay, love you, bye. We say the exact same thing at the exact same time. So yeah, man. But so for you guys that are listening at home, that is the Perfect Double podcast, available on all the podcatchers. I picked it up on Spotify. It was, I was searching for our episode with Tim, and I searched Tim's name, and another podcast came up, and I was like, that cheating motherfucker. Oh, wait, that's his. So I listened to the whole thing start to back. He was really good. They were talking about the USPSA rule changes and the recent different things with the magnets and the appendix carry for those of us who aren't in the open world and all that stuff.
Well, yeah. Hold up. Magnets?
Go listen to the show, my man. Tim, hit it.
I don't want to spoil the content, but as somebody who has shot USPSA and 3-gun, what's the magnet rule change? Because I feel like this is going to change my life.
The magnet rule change now is that every division are allowed to have magnets to retain magazines on their belt.
Okay. So they didn't go IDPA with it and make it stupid. They just caved to, hey, this makes sense. Let's do this. It's not really cheating.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. My heart rate has lowered.
I'm not sure I understand the IDPA reference, TJ. IDPA doesn't let you use magnets.
Exactly my point.
Well, IDPA also doesn't allow you to use appendix carry for a defensive pistol sport, which I've always kind of found mentally exhausting.
I'm yet to get a response from them on that.
Right. So IDPA is that kid in class that raises his hand on Friday and reminds the teacher to assign homework.
Yeah. Yes. I'm taxing that. Thank you very much.
You are more. It's not mine. You can take it as you wish, sir.
Oh my God. I love it. So let's see, what other plugs should we get out of the way? We've got like one slot left to come to PA and shoot with Timmy in July.
Awesome.
If there's one person that wants to come to freaking Lewisberry and learn from my boy here, TJ, I'll buy you a spot.
I've already got plans in July to go on a family vacation with your ass.
Yeah, right. That is true. But well, fuck it. Just tie in a shooting. Anyway, shooting classes are good. We like shooting classes. So greenmountaindefense.com/training. If you want to train with Tim, he's on there as well. Yeah, I know, Zach. You already booked the instructor class. I'll take the student class. Get in here. Come on, Zach.
Yeah,
I'll give you a negative.
It's okay. Look,
discount.
Look, we're 10 minutes into an hour and a half show. We will peer pressure the shit out of everybody we know.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Like a telethon and sell that last fucking slot before the end of the tournament. Well, let's see. So I wanted to bring you on to talk about your recent experiences at TACON, your instructor development stuff that you and I got coming up here in the fall.
Yep.
You're developing an instructor development curriculum, and it's not about lands and grooves. Please tell me the word lands and grooves is not in the instructor curriculum anywhere. No.
What's that?
No, never. It was an NRA instructor joke, which you wouldn't get because you never went through that travesty. Never mind. It's fine.
Well, I am NRA certified as an NRA basic pistol instructor, but I've kind of stopped at that.
he's like, I put that moment out of my memory, so I don't get the joke. That's fine. Really good. So he's got a a little bit of an instructor development curriculum. And obviously, the shooting sports are taking a little bit of a hit with this ammo crunch and ammo shortage. So I want to talk a lot about dry fire tonight.
Okay.
Because, Jesus, everybody needs to be. Zach, you're not trying. Just credit card number in the computer and do the thing, and then you can come to class. It'll be fine. It'll just be fine. Nah, dude, jump in here. Get up here, please. I'd love to have you. Anyway, so let's hit first things first. Let's talk about instructor curriculum and how you think your offerings are going to be different than that's already on the market.
So, instructor curriculum, with my instructor development, it is not about. So, that's kind of where I feel like the downfall of the traditional instructor development programs are for most kind of private instructors that do their, that offer something like this. NRA does their instructor development, which really isn't instructor development. It's basically like, these are the things that you need to do from basic pistol and teach people how to do. By the way, here's this big fat 3-ring binder textbook of information that you have to go by if you're going to be, an instructor that follows kind of NRA protocol. Most everybody else kind of has an instructor development program that's kind of built the same way. A lot of it's like how to, they get into like how to build or structure your curriculum, how to develop your curriculum, how to communicate a little bit with the students and things like that. And then a lot of it is like, okay, different laws or different, laws or range rules or safety briefings, how to give all that kind of stuff. But nobody really wants to give like the super secret sauce, so to speak, as far as like being a diagnostician. So a lot of instructors are like, man, I've taken NRA, or I've taken Rangemaster instructor, which the Rangemaster program with Tom Gibbons is great. However, it kind of left me wanting a little bit more as an instructor on how to develop my skills better as an instructor. There was very little like communication between the students, when every student in that program is supposed to be, kind of an instructor level student, and how to be able to communicate effectively with each other. There was very little like getting to coach, which I think is probably one of the most extremely important facets of instructor development. It's not only how to coach, but also how to have a coach's eye. So I've kind of decided, just based on, I came to the realization that based on like my experience with other instructor development programs, that like, man, it's not the stuff that I've been looking for. Instead of continually trying to find it from somebody else, hell with it. I'm going to build it myself. So I've taken basically my 2-day practical performance class, and then I add a 3rd day on top of it. We kind of shorten the number of students. So instead of having like a maximum student base of like 14 or 13 or 14 for a regular 2-day class, where I'm just teaching you how to be a better shooter, we do this as a 3-day class with like a maximum of like 10. And we do a lot of one-on-one coaching with each other. We do a lot like how I'm building the program is to make you a better coach, a better performance coach, or a better performance teacher. So a lot of things that a lot of instructors miss are things that maybe they've not even sorted out for themselves. Like, how do you teach grip? How do you teach trigger control methodology? How do you teach the concepts of aiming? What other concepts of aiming do you offer students? And it's not just a one size fits all solution to shooting, which I think, I believe and know that I'd say 95 to 99% of instructors tend to follow, right? Like they follow their favorite instructor or whoever they were taught, and they found one way to do things. They've never questioned anything outside of their lane. And this is the information that they offer to their students. So basically it's like if their students have issues with like, cross dominance issues, or like eye cross convergence issues, or something like that. Right. And that's just one facet of many that can affect students. Then a lot of instructors are just like, well, to shoot both eyes open, you just have to learn how to do it. You can do it. And a lot of instructors take that, if I learned how to do it, everybody can learn how to do it, which is, I'll call any instructor out that thinks that's the way, I'm going to call you on your bullshit right now. You're lying to yourself, and you're lying to your students, because everybody learns differently. And there are many, many people out there that have different limitations that maybe you don't see as a trainer or instructor, that maybe you haven't considered, and you don't know how to offer different solutions, again, because shooting isn't a one size fits all. So that's kind of what I've come up with, and what I'm working on as far as like a 3-day curriculum. So you'll go through, as students, you'll go through my 2-day curriculum, but where instead of like obviously I'm going to give you the same kind of lectures that I would just a standard 2-day class, but we're also going to break down into smaller groups and have a lot of like, remember being in high school and you broke into like little focus groups of like 3 or 4 to work on different assignments together? That's exactly kind of how I want to structure that with instructors, is so that we're working in like groups of 2, groups of 3, groups of 4, to be able to learn how to communicate effectively with each other, regardless of what your student base is. So, and then day 3 will be how to break down every nuance of every technique or every concept that was taught 2 days prior, and like the what's, the whys, the hows, the what fors, and like to be able to answer every question of those concepts, so that you're not left kind of hanging when a student is like, well, why? And a lot of instructors are like, well, because I said so, that's why. And it's like, no, you should be able to answer the whys for that concept, or the why nots. Or if that concept doesn't work for that student, be able to offer them other solutions. So to me, I think, extremely important. And it's something that I don't think many other actual instructor development programs actually have, is developing the instructor to learn how to diagnose students and learn how to apply solutions to students.
Yeah, I just want to weigh in on the amount of effort and the 100-pound brain, because I even said it in the description of the show. We're going to peel back your 100-pound brain, right? So, like, for the folks playing the home game, I want you to think of something, I don't care what it is, that you know how to do really, really well, right? Maybe you're the only one in your family or circle of friends that knows how to do this thing. Then sit there and try to diagnose exactly all of the steps and traits and skills, or traits that have developed the skill that you possess, and figure out how to explain that to like a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 40-year-old. Like, it ain't easy.
Right. You're absolutely right.
That's why he practices on me. He gets the 5-year-old right out of the way.
Well, the other thing too is, and not even just thinking about like a 40-year-old, also think about your 65, 70, 75, 80-year-old students, and it's a lot of it is, it's very hard for younger instructors to be able to convey information to an older audience, because the older audience immediately looks at somebody a lot of times with that skepticism of like, what are you going to teach me that I don't already know?
Yeah.
While at the same time, they kind of built up barriers to like acceptance of information from somebody else. Also with like either physical disabilities or physical limitations because of their age. So you're kind of fighting a double-edged sword on that. It's like, well, do it this way. And then, well, what about arthritis? Well, what about the fact that I've lost, 50% of my mobility in either my left hand or my right hand? Or what about the fact that I have to wear trifocals and I am, like completely blind in one eye and legally blind in the other eye, and so that's the problem, is a lot of instructors are just like, whoop, and they throw their hands up and they're just like, they may not tell the student, please leave, but they do not, they've, at that point,
they disengage.
Right. They disengage, which means then the student is like, awesome, they've wasted a bunch of money to come there. And the instructor never even gave them, an ounce of any more one-on-one training or assistance or leadership, because it became frustrating for the instructor, just as frustrating as it was then for the student. And then both of you guys are leaving with a frustrated experience. And that sucks, So, and that's kind of my thing, is communication skills are crucial, obviously, if you want to be an effective teacher. But at the same time, like having effective diagnostic skills, like being able to look at what a student is doing. And even if they're not doing what you do, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Like what, and I think a lot of instructors, they just like, they'll take a book, for instance, right? And they're like, okay, here's my textbook. This is my curriculum. I am never going to waver off of this page, and then page 1 becomes page 2. And that's it. They don't know how, like when, with a class or when a student asks a question that leads them left turn or right turn, how to even answer that. It just becomes like, like it's rote, it's like, well, that's not on my list. Oh, never mind, I'll get back with you later, instead of like, no, let's find a solution that works for you that may not be the initial solution that I offered, right? And I think as instructors, like, we need to have a bag of tricks so freaking big and so deep that we are never left without something that will work, or something that a student can take away tangible that is better than what they came with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, absolutely.
Or if you're out of your bag of tricks, at least be man enough to pick up the phone and call somebody with a different bag of tricks. Because,
sure,
God Almighty. So, just long story short, Tim will be providing eye patches with the Tim Herron shooting logo on them. just in case you didn't know. I started a shitstorm with asking Tim a question about people being taught to always use both eyes when shooting, no matter what kind of deal. And then I think I might have spurred our esteemed guest into a Facebook post. Then he tore the fucking internet. Somewhere Mark Zuckerberg was like, God damn, these shooter dudes are serious about this.
Well, I mean, Kent, you and I have had these conversations now, I mean, it seems like once every couple of weeks for, well over a year now, or as long as we've known each other, which is great. Like, I love like I nerd out on that kind of stuff, especially vision, because vision is it's so funny how so many people believe they understand every aspect of it, but then how funny so many people don't understand vision concepts or vision issues, but they talk out of their ass anyway, right? Because they'll be damned if they're going to be wrong or have to admit that they didn't know, which like Kent and I both, have obviously agreed, like, dude, if we don't know, the thing is that's how you build like that's how you build your peer group, is so that if you don't know, by God, I know somebody that will, and I might have to go through, make a couple of phone calls to do so, but I will. And I think that's important. But the other thing is too, is like, right, we don't all have the same abilities or the same disabilities. So it's tough for instructors. I think a lot of times, like they've learned one way or they've taught one way with, say 85% success. The problem is they're leaving 15% of that, 15% of their population or of their student base, right? Or their audience are leaving their classes feeling like nothing was applicable to me because the instructor spoke either over my head, didn't address my my absolute concern or problem or disability, or issue, and help me or find a solution for that. So like my big thing, like I said, with building an instructor development program is to give you a lot of tools and answer a lot of questions to give you solutions so that 15% like lack of retention that you get in your classes, you're now getting 95 to 100% of retention with students that are like, oh my God, like dude knows some shit and knows how to fix some things. And, like I can't apply X amount of grip pressure to my gun with my support hand, or I can't shoot both eyes open. And I didn't need to, right? I mean, there's so many things. And that's kind of another thing with the instructor development course is being able to like be kind of mythbusters, like there's a lot of things that we're going to bring up in class that don't necessarily, that everybody I think holds near and dear to their hearts, that isn't important in the grand scheme of things.
So I'm curious about this, for the professional instructors in the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? So we can put a lot of the onus on the instructor, of course, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that little I at the end of your title. But with that being said, as an instructor, if I would have put my pretend hat on for today, I feel like that just the way that I try to organize things and tackle problems head on would it be considered a faux pas or maybe just politically incorrect even, or insensitive to have some type of not necessarily a one-on-one conversation, but maybe like a form field for like comments whenever they're placing an order for, to take one of your classes. Say, essentially an open-ended question. What, if any, physical disabilities do you believe you have? This way, when that course is getting registered, while that registration is building, the instructor can be aware of these challenges coming up in that particular class ahead of time.
I think it might be, that could be important for some instructors to do that. I am not one that likes to do something like that. And here's why. Because I don't want, like, I fear for a student to have to identify or give me a list of potential, these are my issues. These are not issues, right? But like, these are my disabilities or my shortcomings as a human being, right? Like I've got, I've got astigmatism in my right eye and I've got a floater in my left eye. And I don't really know what, like what eye dominance I am. And, I don't want to set them up to feel like, okay, I'm coming into this with all these excuses so that if the instructor can't address those and give me solutions to them, I almost feel like you're setting up the student to just accept mediocrity. And they're going to mediocrity on their own behalf. Right. And doing that like on a piece of paper, or doing that like on an entry registration form or something like that. I don't want to come into a class, even as an instructor, with preconceived notions about any of my students. I just don't. I want to come in like it's a level playing field. I don't know who is a grandmaster level shooter looking for that last, 2 to 3% kind of tune up in their own skill level. Just like I don't know whoever's standing next to them that might have just picked up a pistol for the first time, 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, and just learned how to draw from the holster, and like their entire world is about to be opened up. I want both to get equal content, or not really equal content, because obviously the content's going to be different for each student, but I want them to both get equal value for the class. So like if I knew if somebody was coming ahead of time that had like tremendous vision issues or had grip strength issues, I think a lot of instructors look at that and they go, yeah, I'm going to avoid that and let me hit on maybe these other two things, and I'm not even going to mess with that because that's not my wheelhouse, or that's not something I really want to slow the rest of the class down or things with. So I mean that's I guess that's my take on it. I want to be the most unselfish giver of myself to my students that I possibly can be. And I think sometimes setting that up, like I think it might put the instructor's blinders on, or maybe it puts the blinders on the instructor the opposite way. So maybe the instructor's like, oh, great. So this person's got grip issue. So the entire fucking class for that student becomes all about grip, while everybody else is learning multiple target transitions, and they're learning how to anchor the sights, and they're learning how to, to shoot things at distance. And, then you've got somebody else that maybe just mentioned something, but the next thing you know, the instructor is like, okay, remedial training for this person here, and this is all they're going to get out of me. I mean, you're doing the student the same disservice as you would if you avoided that problem altogether. And so I don't know. I'm kind of, I kind of don't like that. I know Sam with ETS. I know he's posted on here, says Jedi does something in that realm. He asks you to give him 2 things that you wish to come out of the class and improve on. I also kind of do the exact same thing. When I do my introductions and during my safety briefing, I'll ask students, like, hey, give me your name, how long you've been shooting, and what are a couple of things that you're looking to take away from this weekend. I mean, this is a huge investment of your time away from your family. It's a huge investment in money. It's a huge investment, to spend an entire weekend doing nothing else but wanting to learn. How can I best help you achieve your goals? But I do that for the reasons. It's not that I'm just like, whatever their concerns are or whatever their issues are or what their wants or demands are is like falling on deaf ears, but it allows me to start understanding like their learning style, or how they think, and if they're thinking like, well, I really like to work on movement and I'd really like to do that. Okay, cool. I'll mark those things down and kind of like take mental notes. Like, okay, Kent says he wants to work on movement. And I want to make sure that I attach some value to that. But if like we show up, like if we come in like day 1, 30 minutes into class, and I'm kind of assessing his current level of skill, and maybe he believes his movement is what he really needs to focus on, but maybe it's not a movement issue. Maybe it is a not having the gun up ready to shoot issue. Maybe it is a grip issue. Maybe it's like he's not being visually patient enough issue, and it really isn't movement at all. Then I am not going to waste his time or his investment in time to focus on something that honestly, like we could have a 5-minute heart-to-heart and say, Kent, bro, it's not your movement. It's how your movement from point A to point B is good. It's how you're getting into position or rolling into position with the gun up ready to shoot, and like, maybe that's what we need to focus on. And then it allows him to see what I'm seeing, but also allows him to get on the same page with me as far as self-diagnosis. So now he's more open to the instruction or the structure of instruction that I'm going to give him. He'd be like, well, Tim said my movement is good. And maybe I even spend an extra 5 or 10 minutes proving to him that his movement is good. And then just showing him like, okay, we don't need to work on movement. We need to work on refinement here, here, and here. That's what's going to make the bigger changes in your shooting. And then the next thing you know, he is receiving me loud and clear, and we've got a better, like signal, noise to importance ratio or whatever you call it.
Yeah. I have it on good authority that there are only 2 phrases that Kent needs to both be more accurate and move faster.
Go ahead, TJ. Tell them what they are.
Fuck that. Go faster.
Yes.
And you fucking missed.
Yes. See, TJ's just proud of his remote teaching abilities. Every time he sees anything,
I shaved a solid half second off your draw time. I don't want to hear shit.
You just pissed me off. That's all. Hey, anger is a good motivator for me.
It worked, didn't it?
It did work. It did work. No, it absolutely worked. I got pissed and I pushed. So a couple of things that you went through there that I want to circle back to. First are focus groups, which is a really neat idea. Mm-hmm. I'm left with the visual of short bus. Like it'll just be me and 3 other people, and you'll be like, guys, there's a sub shop down the road down here to Lewisberry. Why don't you take that Magicella school bus, go get us some lunch, and you focus group on your way down there to go tell us about grip. Okay, good. So you'll focus group us 3 idiots off the range, and then the rest of you will do some cool shit that I don't get to see. That's one visual. The other visual is something that I wish there was more of, which is no shit Socratic method. Hey, y'all break it out and y'all figure out how to explain grip to me. And then among the group, maybe some wisdom will pop up. And maybe the person who's more likely not to speak in a group of 16 or 12 or 10, all of a sudden will feel more comfortable to have input in a group of 2 or 3.
Right.
And as such, learning will occur. That's what I think you're going for, but I'm a little suspicious you're going to throw me on the bus and send me somewhere.
No. That's exactly what I'm looking to do.
Right.
Because no 2 people communicate the same way, right? I mean, we all know that. But there's a lot of instructors out there that want to be really good communicators or want to be really good instructors. But again, outside of like a textbook curriculum that they've picked up someplace or maybe had help developing, and they are just focused on like, okay, at 9:05 a.m., I'm going to cover this topic, and I'm only going to speak about this topic. I'm not going to ask questions about that topic. I'm only going to speak to it. I'm going to demonstrate it. And then at 9:27 a.m., we're going, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of instructors that do just that because they don't know how to effectively communicate with people. And they're afraid of questions. They're afraid of questions because they're afraid of either having to demonstrate something different outside of what it was that they planned to demonstrate, or they're afraid to simply demonstrate something again for fear of, again, like stage fright, right? Like, what if I get it wrong? Well, what if you get it wrong? Who cares if you got it wrong? I mean, and that's ultimately, that's kind of one of my big pet peeves too, is like going to a class with an instructor that doesn't demo anything.
I feel like there would be an interest. I would love to see this tested, but have, say, an hour, maybe an hour and a half towards the end of the second day, whatever have you. You pick an ideal time slot, but where it's, kind of as part of an open Q&A, but in a demonstrative fashion.
Uh-huh.
So, all right, who here has seen a drill that they would like to see me try to demonstrate, right? Whatever it might be, as long as it's, of course, safe. We want to be smart about it. But use that opportunity to say, okay, well, I am the professional shooter. You give me a task. Let's see if I can complete it. But if I fail, let's all work together and try to diagnose where I fell short to try and, as a good learning experience, right? Because, I mean, people often learn more through their mistakes than they do their successes, right? So I think that would be a really cool exercise.
Yep. And that's kind of what I want the focus groups to be. So, is to be able for, be able for them to be able, like, okay, you're going to break down into a group, you four are going to break down and you're going to find, like, I want you to work on something like for 10 minutes. I want you to explain to me as if I were a brand new shooter or I was brand new to anything. I want you to take one subject and all four of you kind of put your heads together and figure out like how you are going to break down, let's say a 5-point like learning concept to get me to fully understand what it is that you're working on or what it is that you want to convey to me and have me not just understand, but also be able to demonstrate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'd be a cool experience. Also, Kent's a dick.
I'm just fucking.
He can see the chat. Like he knows what's going on.
I'm just having fun. That's all. I'm being a bad student, writing notes in class while the teacher's talking. I'm very sorry. So the other thing that I think is missing from instructor curriculum.
Kent, you went mute on us, buddy. Yeah, he probably disconnected his microphone. Yep. You
bumped the table where the new podcast mic is.
There you go.
Oh boy.
How many times have I told you gotta mount it to an armature?
I don't know what that means. It sounds like some fancy furniture my grandma would have.
This thing. See, it's a nice little arm. It connects. I can bang the table and it doesn't disconnect nothing.
I thought you were talking about a shipper rope or something like that.
No.
I was saying something smart. Oh, I know what I was saying. The ability for folks to have an opportunity to do some teach backs. Like
right.
the ability for that instructor candidate, if you will, or that instructor student for a day to do some teaching under somebody else's. Like I personally am looking forward to you hearing some of my shit.
Yeah.
And going, I don't know what that is, but no, throw that away. That would be good.
Yep. And that's, like I said, I mean, that's the whole concept of why it's a 3-day program. And like I said, like day 3 is like, you guys get to see me like teach you guys how to diagnose over day 1 and day 2. And then day 3 is now you're going to take those same concepts and you're going to put them back at me. You're going to teach me. So, in your own words, I'm not looking for repetition, of what I said. I'm not looking for repeatability of it. I don't want you to verbalize it the exact same way I verbalized it. Like, how would you teach your students, in your own way and like find your own voice? So yeah, that's where I'm going with this program.
That's really neat. So I've been asked this question by a couple of folks who are interested, and I'll ask it directly to you. I know you're giving a cert at the end of this class to say that somebody has attended it,
mm-hmm.
But do you intend for this to be a instructor cadre cert as so many of the other ones are? Do you understand what I'm asking?
So kind of like what Range Master is, so to speak?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously this is year 1 for this particular curriculum, to kind of be brought to the table. And in fact, I'm kind of playing around with it a little bit, just at different classes and kind of getting some folks' take on things depending on like the audience of each class that I teach. But as far as like the kind of the breakout, true to life first class is actually going to be with you. When is it? September, October when I'm up there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would like to think that maybe it does go someplace farther than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily want it to be certification. I'd like it to be about development as an instructor. Like, yeah, there's going to be a certificate of completion, just like there's certificates of completion for just about any class that, somebody would take with me. But as far as like, hey, here's a cert that says that you have, attended my class and you understand my concepts and, now be free to go teach the world kind of thing. I don't know if that's because I don't want somebody attending the class to
chase validation.
Just chase a validation, right? To just be, and it's, I'm loath to say this, like with Tom Gibbons's range master, right? Like so many people go take a range master class more so than anything else, just to say like, cool, I got the range master certification. Like they shoot they shoot the 2 pistol quals. They take they'll do the test or whatever to pass. They get their certificate, and then their certificate is just to kind of like, just to hang, it's just like, hey, see, I've got this other certification that I've taken. I don't want it to be about that at all. Like I want this instructor development course to be about developing your skills as a teacher, as an educator. It's not just like I said, it's not some just, well, I've checked that box and I've got this little piece of paper. No, I want it to be about like, man, that was a hell of an experience. I'd like it to be compared to, say, like if we got 15 instructors, from across the country that just wanted to hang out for like 2 days or 3 days and just share material. And just like, well, this is the way I do that. And this is the way I do this. And this is how I do this. And well, go back to that. Like, I liked how you did that. Show me again. You know what I mean? That's like, I want that to be more about the experience on, did it make you a better educator? Did it, for God, I hate to use the young term nowadays, but did it make you more woke, as an instructor? Did it open your eyes to things that maybe you'd been missing, in your own kind of instructor duties to make you, a more engaging teacher?
Episode 73, timestamp 47.5, the first time the term woke has ever been uttered on this here show. I just figured for posterity.
The 7th seal has been broken. Beware the trumpets.
Who would have thought it would be Tim, of all people?
Of all people, right?
Of all people.
Why not be me, right?
Why not me? Why not me? So it's funny. It's funny you said that. I'm thinking of hosting an event much like what you just described.
Yeah.
Like just this isn't my curriculum. I'm just giving people the opportunity to all get together and talk instructor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just instructor stuff. I would not even present, not my shit at all. Just, hey, this is my place. This is the range I can get you on. Let's all run through a 2-day pistol class and let's hear everyone's take on the same thing.
Yeah.
I almost feel like replace range with round table and a few beers.
Dude.
Right.
Hell yeah. Right. And just and be able to just and sit and explain, and it not be anything ego driven at all. Like,
right.
I'm sorry to say, I don't want to go to like some sort of like really cool instructor, like expo, just to listen to every goddamn instructor out there give me fucking war stories for 3 days about everything that they've done in the past. And no, it's not about that. It's like, you check all that shit at the door, and how do you approach your students, and like just being able to give examples, like if somebody said, okay, well, hit me with something, and like be able to just.
Yeah. So like, can't you be the moderator? It could be like a word association game, right? You draw a topic out of a hat. Like, okay, guys.
I'm feeling a show.
Yep. The first topic is grip. Go and just like toss the card in the middle of the table and back up. Watch what happens. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, for like a 6-hour live podcast hosted from a Ramada Inn somewhere in Mechanicsburg.
Like you are Oppenheimer, and these are, the something about atomic energy. I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but you guys get what I'm saying.
I think it would be great, like just to have that, and not necessarily to see like guys like beat it down, but like to see everybody else's, or to hear everybody else's kind of take on grip. because I know there are a lot of instructors out there that are like, man, like grip isn't as important as, as say trigger control, or as, trigger control is not as important as say something else, and I'd like to just like be able to kind of pick the brains of those instructors, or be able to get the feedback from instructors from a, like, well, why? Give me the why. Like what prioritize, what made you prioritize this over this? And don't just give me the why, explain it in great detail. Like why should I question everything that I hold near and dear to look at it from your direction? And then once I, obviously, if they can give me a good enough answer, then as instructors, again, like if we've checked our ego at the door, dude, we should be able to like question it and go full circle. And that's just, I think that's what makes better teachers.
Well, see, here's the track that I'm taking with this, right? Every single person, every single instructor that's worth their salt that we have had on this podcast every one of you have said the same thing. I give credit where credit's due. And like, there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I convey that are not my original content, right? Mm-hmm. There's always source material. So we're not creating anything new under the sun. So somewhere in your journey throughout the year, week to week, day to day, quarter to quarter, whatever have you, as you encounter your fellow instructors, it's usually one at a time, right? Isolated instances, you're at a training together, you're at you're at TACON for whatever reason, right? But it's so busy. Everyone's always hustling and bustling, trying to get from point A to B and C to D to E. How many times have you gotten think if you had an opportunity to sit at a table with every person that you reference, or people that you have cherry picked little tidbits from to build your own approach, and everybody kind of sit down and just start comparing notes and having that discussion, damn it, I bet you'd solve world hunger.
I think we could. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be
picturing that, like, that picture that's in every bar ever
of the dogs playing poker,
all the bulldogs playing poker with the cigars and the bourbon. Yeah. I'm absolutely picturing that. There'd be like a Polish Asian dog that'd be Jedi. There'd be some sort of a greyhound. That'd be Timmy the racer. There'd be let's make this. There's going to be an instructor dog calendar coming out soon too from Green Mountain Defense. This is great. I like it. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. I really like it. The other thing that I've been asked about and then we'll get off your instructor class coming up, that I've been asked by potential people who have wanted to maybe see about dipping their toe in coming. Do you have to be oh my God, I almost sounded like Cool Guy Army, bro. Here, ready for this? Do you have to be an operational instructor? In other words, do you have to be currently teaching students in order to come to an instructor development class from you? Is that
no?
Right. I knew the answer. There is one coming who I told the answer to already, but I just wanted to, I didn't think so.
Yeah. No. No. So, I mean, what you'll learn, like in my regular 2-day class, right? Like in just my 2-day practical performance class, is how to better self-diagnose. What you're going to learn in the 3-day instructor development course is not only how to self-diagnose, but then also the techniques that I use to diagnose others, whether it's, like things I see visually and things that I'm keeping an eye for, as well as like tangible things, right? Things that I'm like touch, feeling, hearing, that I think a lot of people like are remiss to see or understand. So there's things like when you see somebody draw the gun and they shoot and they get some trigger freeze, like we all kind of know, like, trigger freeze, that's caused by, too much tension a lot of times in the strong hand, and then, okay. So I've taught you, that's something we cover in my regular 2-day course. Like, hey, tension is what's causing the trigger freeze issue. Here's how you reduce it. Where we would really go and kind of get into the weeds on that is like, when I see a student continue to have some trigger freeze issues, or I see them have tension issues, and there's a lot of times I can just look at somebody, or I can literally just lay, I don't mean to sound like Jesus or anything like that, but I can lay a hand on their shoulder while they're shooting or something, or I can touch their arm, or just in ways that I could, like I have learned how to figure out if somebody is like ultra tense, maybe on the side of the body they don't need to be ultra tense on. Like those are the cues, and those are the things that I want to be able to teach other teachers or other instructors. Like, hey, this is how I'm doing that. It's not like I'm using guesswork and like using Jedi mind power and making you agree with me that is indeed what I saw. Like I'm seeing these things because they're caused by this and this. And, oh, I could tell you're over gripping the gun with this hand because I could feel it by this, or and it, like, that's, I think the big keys as far as, for instructors that a lot of people don't, they don't realize or don't understand,
Well, it's official. Evolution Training Solutions has dubbed you Jesus. It says you Jesus, so that makes sense. That would make a lot of sense because Jesus was short. Because years ago, that short joke didn't land at all. Never mind, Sam. Fuck off. Let's see. Where was the question? There was a question from, so MG Bustin wants to know why the 1911.
No, to be fair, hold on. Let's put this in proper. This is the junior. This is Mikey. Good kid.
My bad.
No, he's cool. No, they're cool. But I want to put in proper frame of reference. So these guys are some of our biggest fans, biggest supporters of the channel. We love having them participate. But Mikey definitely being the junior shooter, which is why we're definitely happy to entertain this question. But he goes further to say, Tim, why the 1911? And Kent, why the Glock?
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah. So we're going to start a little bit of World War II. So, Tim, as the guest, we'll let you go first and explain why Kent's wrong.
So the 1911 for me is kind of what I started like shooting USPSA in competition with. Because at the time, the guys that kind of took me under their wing to kind of teach me the ways of competition shooting and things, they were shooting 1911s. For me too, it's just like 1911s in competition are there's like a purity to it that a lot of that is kind of lost on other divisions. It's low capacity. We get 8 rounds plus 1 in the chamber for a total of 9. A lot of your USPSA arrays, target arrays in matches are limited to 8 rounds or less per that array. So, like you might have a 32 round field course of fire that might have, 4 targets over here, 3 targets over here, 1 target or 2 targets here. And so I'm not given like this 21 round magazine, like 2011 or double stack, whether it be a SIG or a Glock or things like that. So I have to be more accountable. I have to be more purposeful in how I shoot. I can't just shoot extra rounds because I don't have extra rounds to spare. So I think it makes me a better overall shooter. As well as it make like the problem solving aspect with a low capacity gun like a 1911. How am I going to plan my reloads? Where am I going to plan to do my reloads at? Where, how am I going to engage this and still try to be as competitive as a guy that has, say, a 20 round or 21 round gun? At the same time, I've got a lot of polymer pistols and things too. I've got 3 or 4 Glocks and 3 or 4 or 5 SIGs and I've got a Walther or 2 in a box someplace or in a safe. I've got a bunch of other guns, but 1911s and me, just like for some reason, like that is the pistol. Like, and everybody has kind of that quintessential gun that they believe has a soul. And for me, 1911s are just like, that is the gun that when I pick it up, it has a soul. Like there's something about a 1911 when I, like a good shooting 1911. And that didn't have to be like super accurate 1911. What I mean by good shooting is like a good, reliable, consistent pistol that is just a lot of fun to shoot. I mean, the triggers, even crappy 1911 triggers, are generally better than even the best Glock triggers. Decent sights, a good feel. They're steel. Like I said, they just have a soul. I don't think literally in all of the 1911s I've had, I think I've probably sold one or two. Other than that, I've kept every other one that I've ever won or purchased or been sponsored with, and had the, had the grace of God to be able to, to represent certain companies and things like that. And their guns I will keep till I pass away. I mean, they're just, like I said, they're just like a family to me. They just have soul.
So
Doesn't
good
mean I
answer.
don't have to shoot other pistols, because I do shoot a lot of other pistols too. But for some reason, like my home is 1911s. I just enjoy the guns a lot.
Right. And just for clarity, but just as a follow-up question, because Don McKellar asked this in the chat, your EDC is a Plastic Fantastic, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. Kent, why the Glock? This is fun. I like this.
Oh, this is great. We're like following friggin' Tim Herron and explaining my gun of choice. Actually, so I'm going to surprise you real quick and tell you this much. Most of it has to do with systems compatibility, maintenance, upgradability, and the fact that I have box upon box upon box of stuff sitting back there. I changed out striker springs and recoil springs on 4 pistols yesterday out of back stock parts that I already have laying around.
Hell, we Frankensteined a Glock 19 together in your basement.
Yeah, TJ needed a Glock 19. He was like, man, I wish I had. I'm like, there.
No, it wasn't even that complex. It was, he picked up a single toolbox that if you can't find it in there, we ain't got it.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. I will tell you this there, man. 1911, maybe not so much, but 2011 has my interest peak lately. All my interests are competitive / defensive in nature. I have no need for a just competitive gun. I'm not going to buy a gun that does nothing for me, but compete with. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just don't. That's not in my wheelhouse. I go compete with my EDC gun. I do, right? That being said, man, I would love to carry every day like a staccato or something like that. I just cannot figure out the appendix draw stroke with a beaver tail gun like that. It just ain't working for me.
Yeah, because and to be fair, you had the same issue with the Walther that you were playing around with for a while. And it wasn't anything wrong with the gun, but that beaver tail, I remember several conversations where you had nothing but negative things to say about that damn beaver tail.
Yeah, it's about the appendix draw stroke geometry. I'm a bigger dude getting smaller, but still there ain't no way in hell I'm getting my thumb behind the grip of the gun in an appendix draw. Certainly not one with a correctly concealed gun. I mean, maybe if I played with some offset stuff in my appendix rig, but then what the hell would the point be? That wouldn't be a real appendix rig after all. Mm-hmm. So for me, man, it's nothing but habitual. So we'll use Glock as a euphemism to cover off on all the Plastic Fantastics. Because if you think for a minute that CZ or Walther or Sig or, River don't make shit. Beretta, there's a bunch, Smith & Wesson, there's a bunch of these other gun companies that make a Glock, right? And they're all super reliable, super shootable, super usable. That all being said, man, when I do pick up a Staccato P, somebody else's, and I shoot that thing and I sit there and just look at it, and then I give it back, and then I do my next round with my G34, and I look at it like, I don't love you anymore. I don't love you anymore. So, yeah. I'm not going to give you this 2 World Wars Glock's better than if you're wanting me to beat on the 1911, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
you guys using that, it works fine. And
so real quick, can't check your settings. We're getting a little bit of echo from you. I think when you unplugged your pro mic that it went to your computer. It's giving us feedback. Either way, I will weigh in on this. I have a 1911 in my collection. I actually bought it last year. Yeah, it was last year that I bought it. I look at it like a 12 gauge pump shotgun, right? It's one of those things where you kind of have to have one in your collection if you're serious. If you get to that certain level of your firearms, journey. Mm-hmm. But the right 1911 can be as reliable. We can throw out the hashtag stopping power thing as well, right? So like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, there's very few problems in the world that a 12 gauge or a 45 can't solve.
No, there are millions of problems that a 12 gauge or 45 can't solve. Get on the internet and watch the videos.
No,
Round after round after round.
no,
God damn it.
no,
I had you were this close to enlightenment. And,
nope. It's not going to happen. I'm unenlightenable. I'm a ginger, dude. They don't get lighter than me.
Oh my God. Yeah, man, Mikey, real talk to Mikey, because you are a young dude and you're looking at starting your collection and moving up. And I know your dad's got some cool stuff and whatever. Dude, pick what you're good with. Mess around. Find somebody. I know you and I are going to be on a range together someday. But find somebody local to you, Mikey, that's got the stuff. I mean, there's 1911s in the safe back here too. Don't think for a minute I couldn't take you out and say, hey man, let's figure you out something that's going to work for you and go to town with it. You might be surprised what you end up finding. Don't go into the gun store and fall into the trap of, well, this feels good in my hand, so here's my $900.
Right.
Because nobody gives a fuck what feels good in your hand. That really has very little bearing on whether you're going to shoot a pistol correctly or not, or whether it's going to ergonomically line up for you or not, or perhaps whether it serves the purpose that you ultimately want it to. Yeah. Just, man, when I was about your age, and I'm thinking about all the money I've spent on guns between now and the time that I was your age, there are so many purchase decisions I wish I could have back.
Yeah, but I'm convinced that the term buyer's remorse originated in the gun industry.
Oh my God, dude. I bought some jackety ass stupid bullshit. Right. I will tell you this. Tim's got some multiple $1,000 handguns, and he doesn't regret buying any of them. And so do I. And TJ's got like multiple handguns. I don't think you have anything ridiculous, TJ. Do you? Do you have any?
I actually used to, believe it or not. There was at one point. Yeah, there was at one point in my life when I had an STI.
Right.
In 40 Smith & Wesson that I tried to shoot limited with. There's a long story that goes along with that I will not go into on this podcast ever, because it is a horrible story. There's a reason that I got rid of that gun as fast as I did. But yeah, I mean, to all intents and purposes, I have had ridiculous shit in my collection, but I had this epiphany, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast, and there's been countless other YouTubers that have said it. If you come to me with $2,000, because that's about what this gun cost, at least at the time, and says, I've got $2,000 and I've got no guns and no training, what gun should I get? I'm going to tell you to spend $500 on the gun, $1,000 on ammo, and $500, and the remaining $500 on training. Right.
I think so too.
So that I will say that is one of the benefits to that. Now, of course, with 1911s, you will get what you pay for. You absolutely will.
I agree.
So I think that's where 1911s get a bad rap. The whole unreliable bullshit. To be fair, every single problem I've seen with that afflicts or is apparently solely exclusive to the 1911 platform, I have equally seen happen with a Glock or any other plastic fantastic out there. But in the gun industry, we have there's this really noisy underbelly that we call the good enough crew. And they get in the habit of paying the price for whatever is the current popular platform. In this case, we can easily say Glock, right? Glock, that line of guns, using it ubiquitously for that line of firearms. Anywhere between $500 and $700 price point. If you get them used, you can find them cheaper. A really high-end, fully decked out one's going to cost you maybe $800, and that's with a freaking red dot. And around that same ballpark, price-wise, you start looking at 1911s, you kind of get into some gray areas with regards to not necessarily the reliability of the platform as it's engineered and designed, but the reliability and dependability on how it was put together.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
Think of it like, I'll give you an example. There is a guy here that's local to me, Al Zeta. Tim, if you don't know his name, I'm going to be sorely disappointed because he was. Oh man, I'm trying to remember the competitor's name that he used to make guns for. But either way, one of his 1911s goes for like $9,000 because every single bit of it is hand fitted, finished, and polished. These are some of the most beautiful firearms I've ever seen in my life. But like that's what I'm talking about. When you start talking about 1911s, you are talking about craftsmanship,
right?
Not mass production. So that's what people really need to keep in mind when they're purchasing something in that range. Me and Tim, I'm going to defer to you as the expert on this to keep me straight. Me personally, I would not expect a high level of performance for a 1911 under $1,000.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that to a point. My very first 1911 was a $740 Kimber Custom 2, plain old Kimber Custom 2 back when I very first got into shooting. And believe it or not, that gun was uber reliable. I mean, I know Kimber gets a bad rap. I must have got a good one that day, but
well, I mean, even a blind squirrel, buddy. Blind squirrels.
Yeah, I mean, I still have that pistol to this day. It's got north of like 93 or 94,000 rounds through it. It's also the gun that I used from 2010 when I bought it until I made master class in USPSA in 2012 or 13. As soon as I made master, like I kept telling myself, I'm not going to sell this gun, or I'm not going to replace this gun with something nicer until I make master. And then when I made master, my next pistol was a Sig Sauer 1911 Max, like the Max Michel signature kind of competition 1911 and 45. And that's the gun that I made Grandmaster with. It's also the gun that I shot for the 2 years or 3 years that I was a team shooter with Sig Sauer. So, I mean, it really wasn't until, and of course that Max Michel pistol was a $1,300 gun. The Kimber was like I said, about a $750 to $800 pistol. It wasn't until after I left, after Sig Sauer was, kind of dissolved the team, that I was offered a position to shoot for Atlas Gunworks. And that's when I got my, kind of my first like really nice full custom 1911. And now, I've got a handful of, a couple of Atlas guns. I've got 2 or 3 Nighthawks, Nighthawk custom pistols that, obviously, but I think I've shot kind of the entry level guns and have really learned to appreciate like the high priced, high level pistols. But I mean, I think there's a few things that you need to do on any 1911 that would increase its consistency and its reliability.
You know what? I'm glad you used that word. I think consistency is probably a better word.
Yeah. And then I think once you get the consistency and reliability, into the pistol, I mean, I've seen guys finish top 10 at nationals with like, what started life as like a $500 or $600 Rock Island. So, yeah. I mean, they are out there, and there's a lot of guys that do compete with pretty entry level or low price pistols and compete at a high level with. So, yeah. I mean, as far as like now, it's really hard for me to go into a gun shop and have somebody be like, oh man, did you check out this new Springfield? Or, oh, did you see this new Rock Island? Or, hey, did you look at this Taurus? Or, even a Colt. And I'm like, yeah, that's a gun, it just,
does anybody have something I can wipe my hands on?
Right. It's kind of like, people that give Steve Fisher at Sentinel Concepts all, a bunch of trouble. They're like, there's Steve always flexing on the pores because he's got, like 15 or 18 Nighthawk custom guns, and he's got 3 or 4, Chambers customs, from Joe Chambers and things like that. And it's like, yeah, I've got a few really nice guns too. And when you spend a lot of time and a lot of rounds behind a gun like that, it's really hard to go to something that doesn't have like every every edge has been like dehorned and everything is smooth and blended and it fits the hand so well. And I mean, there is something to be said for a gun that is well fit and well put together.
Yeah, I will say this: if you can take two 1911s, exact same make and model, right? Leave one completely factory and send one off to these, like, just give it to somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, right? With somebody that, if they were to create a 1911, would be probably double, if not triple, the price of that one that you bought off the shelf, right? You will. It is a palpable difference in the way each one of those run.
Yep.
Now you do the same thing with a Glock. The trigger might be better, the recoil might be less snappy, but it's essentially the same experience, right? It's like, okay, this one runs a little faster, whatever. Right. There is a tangible and palpable difference when you have a honed and tuned 1911.
Wait.
Right.
Hold on. Hold the phone. There is a magic moment about 300 rounds before the recoil spring in a Glock 34 totally shits the bed, where that is the softest shooting, flattest, red dotness pistol.
Honestly, no, it's not even about like the softness of the shooting. I mean, like, where it goes from running like your dad's old F-150 to running like a Ferrari.
Oh no, I know. Like, I'm telling you, that last 100 rounds before the recoil spring totally shits the bed and the gun doesn't go back into battery anymore, right, that feels like a Ferrari. Then you start to get dangerously close to out of battery discharge. And, you know, things happen. And then Kent spends a day in his basement changing recoil springs. I'm just saying, there's that magic moment.
Okay, so now that we've crossed that bridge, appreciate it is a draw, right? What else you got, Kent?
So now I'd like to talk about dry fire. And specifically, I'd like to talk about a little more in-depth dry fire because, you know, so we can talk about dry fire and people envision different things. They envision snapping a Mantis X onto their gun, walking 10 paces away from a light switch, and just going, God, all right, good. And then they walk away, and then they light switch, Mantis X, do it again. Light switch, Mantis X, do it again. That's one version. The other version is go buy the books and do the thing, and the Steve Anderson and the Ben Steger and the whatever, and the work the program and the whole thing. Where we're doing, you know, drill 1 through 14 until we're blue in the face. We're always constantly trying to keep the part times and keep the log books and all that. And I've now kind of stepped into almost a different kind of more creative version of it, which is like, I'm setting up miniature field courses in my freaking backyard at this point with cones and trees and dogs and babies and shit in the way. But I'm like running almost whole stages sometime in dry fire, or even mini stages, just to try to get the physical element and the exercise up. What I want to talk to you about a little more in depth, and this might be something people don't realize that you do, but it's my understanding, Tim, that you're doing custom dry fire plans for students, where a guy or gal are sending you video. You're looking at their match results and all that kind of stuff and seeing where they're at, and you're developing for them a custom plan. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So like with my online, I do online coaching, and with my online training and stuff, I mean, it's kind of the sky's the limit, right? So I get some guys that are, you know, like, I really want to refine my draw stroke, or I want to refine my reload, my reload skill or reload technique. I get other guys that are just like, you know, they talk about like, well, these are my limitations. These are what I do. These are what I don't do. This is, you know, I've been stuck at C class for, you know, X amount of time or forever. And I need to figure out how to break out of C class. And so, you know, we kind of talk for a few minutes, you know, generally 5 to 10 minutes or so on like an initial phone consultation, just to kind of figure out like where they're at and kind of where their head is at. For me, the big question is like, okay, how much time do you have to devote to like a training regimen, both in dry fire and in live fire. And when, a lot of times they're like, well, I dry fire, 3 times a week, and I go and shoot a match, or I go to practice once every 2 weeks. And, it's like, I need to know like what their level of engagement is, or how to keep them at least at that level of engagement, if not more, to start to solve their problems, or to find progress. So, kind of once we determine that, a lot of times then I'll ask them, like, okay, so if this is kind of match related stuff, like, what do you have any current match footage of, like, your latest and greatest local match? Or, give me some practice footage, give me some dry fire footage. And a lot of guys are like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, I've never recorded myself dry firing. And I'm like, oh my God, why not? And that's, I'll have them like, okay, set your camera up this way. I'd kind of like to have it at this angle here so I can see this. And just and like, you don't need to record your whole 5, 10, 20-minute dry fire session, but I just need to see 2 or 3 reps of each of the drills or exercises that you do. And, once I kind of get that information, then, from them and videos and stuff, I create notes. I write notes on, this is student notes. This is actually notes from a class, but I note everything. Here's notes for a student that I'm working on online, from his last match. So I look at things just by stage. Okay. I saw this, I saw that, you do this well, again, to kind of put us on the same page. And then, we'll schedule a time to sit down for an hour long session. And that hour-long session, we'll talk about not only their match performance and the things that I saw that they could improve on, but then also how they can improve on them. Like, these are the things you need to look out for. These are the things that you really need to be focused on in your dry fire. Let's have you do this. And after you do that, let's also focus on this. And I kind of build them a dry fire regimen, that they can then go and live fire as well, to kind of validate the work that they're doing in dry fire. So that's kind of how that all kind of plays out. Like I said, I got some guys that really want like the ins and outs of like, okay, build me, or how to build or structure a dry fire session, or structure a practice regimen. Other guys, again, like I said, it's just like, well, I'd like to spend an hour and just learn how to really refine my draw, or I'd like to, learn how to refine my reload technique, or I'd like to, I'd like to talk about how to be able to pick up the dot sooner, or, like, it could be anything like that. Or it can be, like I said, it can be like super in-depth, and pretty complex. Like, okay, I'm at a loss. I've got, Ben's books. I've got Steve Anderson's books. I've got this, I've got that. I've done this. And then you find out, like, they don't keep a logbook. They don't note anything. They don't really videotape themselves doing anything. They don't actually look at themselves or watch themselves. They're kind of self-coach. And then they're just at a loss. They're like, well, I do, I practice draws and I practice reloads and I set a timer and I work with a par time in dry fire, but I don't really know what else to do. And that shit gets boring. And it's like, oh, well, here's why. And so we can build, a 3-day regimen, a 4-day regimen. Generally, I kind of work, it's almost like being a personal trainer, like an exercise or a personal trainer at a gym, where, you kind of build and structure a personal workout for them to follow, so that every time that they go, into their bedroom or basement or, upstairs or backyard or whatever, like, okay, today I want to see you work on this, right? And here's a 3-day or a 4-day split schedule, to work on different aspects of your shooting, and there's a lot of things that, like, we'll talk about things and guys will be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I could dry fire that. I'm like, well, what? Like, dude, you can dry fire every aspect of your shooting, everything. I honestly don't think there's anything you can't dry fire and gain some benefit from.
Recoil control.
If you're working on grip, as far as grip pressures and how your grip structure and those pressures are applied to the gun in order to keep the sight still while you're pressing the trigger at whatever level of pressure or speed you do that, the recoil control literally is a byproduct of that. So, recoil control, like everybody gets a big old hard on for grip to better recoil control, but they don't realize that the prominent and number one priority of grip is to be able to hold the damn gun still while you learn to either slap or accelerate the trigger at whatever speed to make the gun fire right now.
And of course, you always have to reset that trigger every time. There's no value in pressing a dead trigger, right?
Exactly. No, the dead trigger. I mean, and like, I'll bet you in my dry fire, if I in a 15-minute session, I probably cock the hammer or rack the slide to reset the striker. Probably 15, 20 times in a 15 or 20-minute dry fire session, meaning very rarely do I ever set the trigger to a spot where I'm just applying pressure and waiting for the striker or waiting for the hammer to fall. Most of the time I'm pressing against a dead trigger, or pressing the trigger into the frame pretty hard and pretty quickly so that, I can see what kind of movement I'm getting in the gun to learn how to either counter or mitigate that movement with proper grip pressures on the gun.
Awesome. Yeah. Sarcasm and emphasis added, right? I always try to like be silly when I back people into stuff, but pressing a dead trigger in dry fire was one of those things for me that I was doing, but I didn't really realize how far I could take it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize where else I could apply it. There we go. Mikey, there's your link. Mikey asked for YouTube videos and dry fire, so there you go.
Cool.
There's a link. Dry Fire Chronicles, a shameless plug. I has videos on that. Tim, by the way, here has a ridiculously in-depth YouTube channel, which you don't plug enough, and you my goodness. Every time I go and do a video on something and I search it and I go, fuck, Tim did that 4 years ago. Never mind. I just take that video and send it to somebody. Asked me a question. I'm like, oh, I'll make you a video. And I go, wait. God damn it. Here's Tim's. That's it.
Well, there was a time when I was still just a part-time instructor. So I was doing all of my teaching while also keeping a full-time job.
Yep.
Which meant I like back then I actually had, an occasional weekend off kind of thing. So I was always hungry to like create new content and do all sorts of fun stuff. I still do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I've here in the last probably 6 months, I've created quite a bit of content that's on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, I've got all kinds of things from like different video series on like draws and reloads and transitions and movement, and things that you can work and practice on, or things that you should be focused on working and practicing at home in dry fire, to, all kinds of other things too, like the importance of grip, the importance of shot calling and how to shot call. Like I said, I've gotten really into the weeds with a lot of my YouTube content this year, or even like towards, throughout last year as well, like with shot calling stuff. And it's been great. It's a lot of fun, but obviously as classes, have taken, precedent over everything else, unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of time. I don't want to say I don't have a lot of time. I don't personally make a lot of time to continue on as in-depth as I would like to. But yeah, no, I've got a lot of content. I probably should plug it a lot more than I do. I don't know. At the same time, I'm kind of one of those guys where like the same, like we all kind of run in the same circles. And when you plug 2 or 3 times of your YouTube channel on like, different social circles and things like that, then guys are like, yes, Tim, we know. Oh God, we know you have a YouTube channel, so I don't want to create that kind of thing either, where people are just like, Jesus, like they're just inundated with Tim Herron shooting stuff. So, I mean, there's other great channels out there as well, but yeah, I mean, if people like their content that, that they see of me, like, I wouldn't mind upping the subscribers quite a bit and getting more people that would like to have more, more content from me.
I'm pretty sure we could send a dozen
your
way.
Dozens and dozens.
That'd be awesome.
dozens and dozens. What he's saying is he promises to do a video every 3 days if 400,000 people subscribe to his channel.
If I could get a cool 1,000,000 people to subscribe to my channel and I could make my living doing nothing but like posting really good YouTube content, maybe, but right. I don't know. I still
you get bored.
I'm not a video professor. I'm just not one of those. Like, I would rather work, you know, like hands-on with students and be an actual teacher.
How do you feel about boxing?
How do I feel about boxing?
I mean, there's a trend of getting people that have no real talent in the ring with people that have a modicum of talent.
Oh dear God, no.
Just saying, you might be outside of the weight class, but there was a guy.
I mean, he got knocked out
the first round. He can't. I'm going to save you 3 weeks of your life. Just Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. It's
okay.
But Ben Askren, MMA fighter, retired MMA fighter, versus YouTube fuckboy. We'll leave it at that.
See, Tim and I are too busy in all the Facebook gun groups on fucking the internet, one guy at a time. We don't watch this stuff. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Because, but I will tell you this: dude might have lost, but he walked away. He laughed all the way to the bank on that day.
See, look, shockingly, Don McKellar knows what you're talking about. That doesn't shock me at all. Yeah, nice.
I'm just saying, so just look. I'm going to sum this up for everybody that kind of grew up in the '90s, right? You know, those people that say, I don't know, because everyone talked about, back in the '90s, one of the big fights that was hyped up was Tyson McNeely. This is when Tyson really first started coming back into the ring after he got out of prison. That fight lasted 30 some odd seconds into the first round.
Was McNeely the guy from Boston? It was I'm Hurricane McNeely.
I don't know. He was one of the few white guy heavyweights in professional boxing that was willing to get in the ring with Tyson. And to all intents and purposes, pound for pound, strength and conditioning wise, they were probably an even match, but he didn't have Tyson's power and apparently a glass jaw. Either way, he made a solid 7 figures easily on that fight. And then everybody got into the habit of saying, couple of million to try to last a round with Tyson. Yeah, I'll take those odds. I mean, I'll be eating food through a straw for a month and a half.
Can we do this in USPSA? Can we do a Herron versus Howard? And I make $7 million to lose to Tim? Because
oh dear God, that'll be
that's essentially what's starting to happen to professional boxing.
All right,
either way,
let's bring the trend into shooting. And Tim Herron, I challenge thee. Let's promote it. Let's talk a bunch of trash about each other, and then I lose and we both make money. That'd be great.
I'd be down for that.
Right?
I mean, I've been punched in the face before, and I think everybody should get punched in the face once in their life just so they know what it feels like. But I'm not saying, I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a few punches to the face, but I don't really feel like becoming a vegetable to Mike Tyson for a 7-figure payday.
No. USPSA would be fine. And of course,
you just got to take one hit. I don't know if it would put you in a vegetative state.
It
would suck. But if you survived more than one punch if you took that one punch from Tyson, nobody would doubt you.
That's true. That's true.
So
wait, hold on. Let's workshop this. This I'm always on the ideas. You versus me. We'll do the whole thing, and the twist at the end is the 1911 doesn't run, and I win anyway. Because you're standing there racking that slide, going, "God damn it!
It took a dive."
I knew I should have used the clock. And then Vegas gets all pissed. Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, you know who else would like to make 7 figures on a USPSA match?
Tim?
USPSA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Right.
Anyway. So
My goodness.
we're coming up to that magical moment, folks. Before we turn it over to Tim for this particular occasion, so Tim has already got a shirt. We're gonna keep that design, right? Train like a champ. I've got the link here in a moment. So, Tim, if you could remind everybody what your charity of choice has been, because folks, here's what I'm wanting to do with these t-shirts, right? We all proceeds, as promised, will go to charity. But what I'd like to do, instead of taking these things out, a couple bucks, couple dozen dollars, 30, 40, 50 bucks here and there. I want to keep these things running for a year.
Awesome.
So say right around like Christmas time, right? Kent and I get to take, maybe it's a couple $100 that we get to divvy out to all these charities all at one time rather than trying to do this incrementally, right? So that's what we're going to do with this. Tim, I know we're going to have you on the show again because, well, duh. But yeah, so folks, head on over to Teespring, check out Tim's shirt, Train Like a Champ. Yeah, it's an excellent design. As a matter of fact, I happen to have it on good authority that the creator of that shirt is ruggedly handsome, both dashing, debonair, and bold. So, yeah. But Tim, Kent has certainly said this before, and you continue to do so. One of the most precious commodities that we can give each other these days is time. We certainly appreciate you giving us 90 minutes of yours.
My pleasure.
And with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to you for any closing comments, promotions, your YouTube channel, anything else you got coming up. The podium's yours, sir.
One thing. Wait, hold on. Young Pai Cheng wants to know when your book's coming out.
So, yes, Young, I promise I'm still writing it. I do not know when it's going to come out. Every time that I'm thinking like, yeah, that's going to make a really good chapter. And then I write up another chapter and I'm like, yeah, that's going to be really good. And then I go back and I proofread it and I read something else and I'm like, oh, but it's missing this, and this. So like, I'm still in the process of getting the handbook, just a student handbook, written and published for classes to be able to hand out to every student for class. But as far as like a diagnostic book, I'm still working on it. Unfortunately, like I said, with building the house the last year and things, I did not have enough time to devote to it like I wanted to. So I'm definitely behind schedule on it, but do not think for a second that I'm not still contributing to that and writing the book. It's just, it's slow going. I've got so many irons in the fire with things that, the book is kind of, I don't want to say it's been the least of my worries, but it's one of those things that it's just kind of been like, oh, I write it as I have a few minutes here and there, or I have, an hour extra here and there. But, this past week, I've got 2 weeks worth of student emails I do follow-up emails with every student that takes a class with me. And so like I said, I just had, upstate Pennsylvania last weekend before last.
Boo.
And then I had this past weekend, I was just in Montana. So I've got 2 classes worth of emails I've really got to get on. So my writing right now has been making sure that I'm getting with communication, keeping up to communication with my students. So that's priority number 1. So
Young, you're starting to become Young, you're turning into Stewie Griffin from Family Guy. When he's hitting up Brian, he's like, oh, you writing that book? You still working on that book, are you? Yeah, get a little novel you working on there? Sam, I like how
protagonist.
I like how Sam picked up on me booing upstate Pennsylvania. That's right, Sam. That's right. You freaking upstate Pennsylvania, you. Anyway, so Tim, plug your stuff, man. I had to get in that Young wants your book.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, and actually Young's going to be in my class. I think his 4th class with me next weekend in Prescott, Arizona. So I'm looking forward to seeing Young and hopefully getting to share a meal with him and drink some good bourbon and all kinds of good stuff. Young is always a great guy to hang out with. Yeah, and as far as people being able to reach out to me, my obviously I do have a pretty good YouTube channel, which is just YouTube.com/Tim Herron Shooting. You can see me or follow me on Instagram under Tim Herron Shooting, Facebook under Tim Herron or Tim Herron Shooting. I've got both. And then of course my website, which is timherronshooting.com. And that's there you can find my schedule, registration links for classes where I've got, where I'm either registration links for classes. If the registration links are up, that's because a class organizer or host is sent me a registration link, or I'm got a registration link for it. If there isn't a link for a class that you're interested in, and it does not say specifically sold out next to it, that means there is at least one slot available, if not maybe a couple. Reach out to me, send me an email, and I will get you in touch with the class host to get you registered and get you signed up for that class. I think I've got 30. I think I started this year with like 32 or 33 classes on the schedule. So it's been a pretty busy year. It's going to be a busy year throughout the entire season for me, as well as being able to shoot, I think, 5 or 6 major matches. I've got the USPSA Low Cap Nationals coming up, where I'll be competing hopefully for a single stack national title this year, here in 3 weeks in Birmingham, Alabama, or Talladega, Alabama, more specifically. So, but yeah, I mean, if any of you guys are interested in it, send me an email. I answer my emails almost immediately, if not within 24 hours. If you send me Facebook messages or call me on my business line or whatever like that through the email, or through the website, I try to be as absolutely receptive and answer those as they come in too. So I think it's still it still surprises Kent when he'll text me and say, "Hey man, when you get a few minutes, call me. I got a question for you." And like 30 seconds later, I'll call him and he'll be like, "Oh my God, like I wasn't expecting you to call me right now." But I mean, it's important to me. It's important to me to build that relationship with every single person that I'm in contact with. It's not just a relationship between me and a class host. It's really, these are friendships and like family relationships that I like to have with my students and people that host me and people that spend time with me. So, but yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. That's how you can reach me and see what I'm up to.
And all kidding aside, if you're in Pennsylvania and you want to host him, or anywhere else for that matter, you should do that. Everybody should host these guys. If you're that dude that's sitting around and you're at the range and you're doing the things and the guy with the keys or whatever, bro, do this. Host these guys. If I can help you in any way host these people, email me and I'll give you some, here's how you should approach this. Here's what you can consider, that kind of thing. My God, hit up Tim and tell him, "Hey man, I'm in freaking Walla Walla, Washington, and I really wish there was a class." And it's not as hard as people make it out to be. It's really not. Now, in Tim's case, he makes you move the steel 47 times until he's happy with it. And you gotta fucking, all the M&Ms have to be gray and the water has to be vitamin water strawberry only. And there's a whole, a Britney Spears contract list of things that have to be perfect. But generally speaking, no, I'm kidding. This is easy, dudes. Do this. Guys and gals, if you don't have to be a training company to host these people, just go. Just say yes. Just do this. I would be super happy to hear that 45 minutes south of me in Maryland, somebody hosted Tim, because those guys need that, and I won't come there because screw you and your goddamn magazines. I'm not doing it. No, but in all seriousness, host training. The industry needs more of it, and you'll make relationships and friendships like you wouldn't believe. It's a well worthwhile experience. So that's my plug for Tim, is host him. Take his classes.
I try to make it easy. I try to make it easy to host me as well. I mean, if you've got questions too, not only is Kent obviously able to help. Sam DeSimone with Evolution Training Solutions, Sam AI'd for me a couple of weeks ago up there near Scranton. Just happened to be, kind of in his hometown area. And dude just gave up his entire weekend to come out and be an assistant instructor for me, which was awesome. And I owe Sam the world for that. That was a big class, man. It was rough. It was rainy. But I mean, I do everything I can to help people host me, to help people that want to, again, kind of assist instruct, which is kind of something new. I'm not so used to. But I also, like, if you're interested in hosting me, like, I've got a kind of a host guide that I spent a lot of time writing, that really kind of outlines the entire procedure, how to do it, what to do. I mean, it's kind of step by step. I mean, it's as hold your hand as I can possibly make it. That makes, I think, the process for hosting, and it's not just for hosting me, it's for hosting anybody really. But obviously, it's a guide on how to host me for a class. That I'd be glad to send that out to people that are interested as well. So, like I said, I mean, I would love to earn your business. I would love to be able to come to your range, wherever, anybody that's listening might be. If you've got a range and can work with the range to schedule a time to have me come out, let's hook up, let's work together and get a class going. I'm now working on my 2022 schedule. I think I've got 3 or 4. I think I've got 2 or 3 classes up on the schedule now on my website for 2022. I've actually got 5 or 6 more that we're still like in the process of finalizing to add to the schedule. But I mean, it's like in 3 years time, it was like, I was, 2 years ago, I was taking, like late 2019 classes in early 2019. And in 2020, like I had filled 3/4 of my 2020 up with, in towards the end of 2019. For 2021, I had 2021 literally filled before January 1st. And now I'm working on 2022, and we're just now into April. So, I mean, this ball keeps rolling, and it gets bigger and bigger. And it's because of great podcasts like you guys allowing me to be a guest on your show. And people coming to classes and getting a great experience. I would hope getting a great experience with me, and then wanting to go back to their home ranges and kind of spread the word and share their thoughts, and hosting me too. So I'm looking to be able to really fill 2022 season up with a ton of classes that I can travel and teach to. So, I mean, and again, like I don't get to do this without, people believing in me and wanting me to come out to the range and teach. So it's because of you guys, I do get to live my dream and follow my passion. So I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. That's really, really cool. I just can't wait to have you over for dinner. Screw the shooting and shit. We're just going to sit at the dinner table, and you can talk to James and hang out, and that's going to be fun as hell.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's get our plugs out of the way. So I'll plug myself, greenmountaindefense.com/training. If you'd like to train with me, if you want to be on a range sometime where I pick up the phone and go, Tim, help, this guy's all fucked up. I don't know what happened. We can do that. In all seriousness, man, oh man, we have so much stuff coming. Just check the calendar, greenmountaindefense.com/training. Go hit it up. I'd love to have you out. We are selling through a ton of the private lesson 5-packs right now. People really seem to be grabbing those packs of 5 private lessons. That makes a great gift certificate or a thing for a friend or for a new shooter or whatever like that. Just jump on, come out, train with us. Let's do the thing with the thing. We're looking at possibly offering some medical training coming up here. Not taught by me. I get to sit down in AI for my own company because I'm not a doctor, as it turns out. And many things. Doctor's not one of them. So we'll be working on that. And other than that, just doing the things. TJ, you want to? Yes, Don. That was a good idea. Thank you for your help. I appreciate you. I love when I catch the freaking the chat right off in that corner window. TJ, you want to plug the show and we'll get the hell out of here?
Yeah, man. Tim, once again, buddy, appreciate having you as always. We would be remiss if we did not mention the people that we are affiliated with that help support the show. You're going to buy gun stuff anyway. It might not be ammo, but you're going to buy gun stuff anyway. Might as well head on over to greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate-links and purchase your stuff from one of our many fine affiliates. We get a little bit of a kickback from that. Few pennies on the dollar, no increased cost to you, and it helps support your favorite local podcast heroes. folks, medical is a thing. As became abundantly clear yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Medical is a thing. We say it on the show all the time. If you're going to carry a gun, you should be carrying medical. And if you're not going to carry a gun, you damn sure better be carrying medical. Suffice it to say that I am refilling a medical kit that I have kept in my vehicle from use yesterday. Went over to darkangelmedical.com and ordered my kit to get a refill done, as well as a couple of odds and ends that I needed as extra. He's got a great sale going on right now. There's a code on Carrie's website for that. In the absence of those seasonal sales that he has going on, of course, BB15, Bravo 15 will get you 15% off at checkout. Just remember to add in your comments for your order that the Sling'N podcast sent you, so Carrie knows we're showing him some love. Long story short, folks, if you have not taken a medical class, I would highly encourage you to prioritize that on your short list of things to do for this year. A case in point, yesterday evening, last night, whatever you want to call it, there was a motorcycle versus car incident right in front of my jiu-jitsu gym. I ran out to see what was going on. The guy from the motorcycle got up, was able to walk off on his own into the grassy area. The car that he impacted sped off, fled the scene. Also on scene were at least 3 nurses and a doctor. The only person that had any real medical equipment was me. Let that sink in for a second. 3 nurses and a doctor, and the one guy that had medical equipment that could help this dude was your friendly neighborhood lead slinging ginger, right? And then when I handed them, because luckily the nurses at least had rubber gloves on, faster than I could get mine on anyway. When I handed them the combat gauze, or item A, item B, whatever it was, when I handed them the combat gauze was the first thing I handed them to cover the gash on the guy's arm. His bone was exposed from the impact with the street. They looked at me like I just handed them an atom bomb. They didn't know what the fuck to do with it. Right? So get out there, get some training. At the very least, while there might be somebody who's maybe a little bit more qualified, if they're unfamiliar with the equipment you're giving them, you should have the knowledge yourself to explain and convey the proper utilization and application of those implements to the patient or the victim, right? So seriously, guys, get training. You never know when it's going to happen to you or someone that you know or someone that you see. So yeah, medical is important. But with that, folks, that's all the time we have for this week. Looking forward to see you again. Stay tuned, of course, on our Facebook page. We will be making an announcement here shortly. Kent and I have been toying around with changing the time slot that we have these shows on. A lot of you have requested that we go live a little bit earlier, so that you're less exhausted by the time we get to this point in the show. But stay tuned for that. New times will be posted on social media. And as always, if you have questions, you can reach out to us on social media, Sling'N Podcast, on the Facebook, and both mine and Kent's individual Instagram pages and so forth, and as well as slingledpodcast@gmail.com, where we are happy to take your questions and comments and maybe even answer them here on the show. But until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other and get out and shoot.
Bye, guys.